Well, a New York court is preparing to hear opening statements for Donald Trump's hush money trial. He faces charges related to hush money payments made to adult film actress Stormi Daniels prior to the 2016 election. And despite the former president calling the trial a witch hunt, it could be affecting his popularity. A recent NBC poll revealing Biden gained 2 points over Trump from 42 to 44%, while Trump lost 1 point from 47 to 46. Joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Can we trust this polling?
Great to be with you, Danica. So, I mean, the polling industry hasn't exactly covered itself in glory in recent elections globally, and not to mention a week is a lifetime in politics. We've got so many twists and turns left to go. So it's hard to say. I wouldn't read too much into it. However, I think the broader point that you're putting your finger on over here is very valid, which is that this lawfare, as it's been come to known right now, which is, using the legal system as a weapon of political warfare, which is what's happening here, is so unprecedented. It's never happened in the history of the Republic. And it's very difficult to really know how to measure that, for the polling industry to measure that, because we don't know ultimately how that's going to transpire, how it's going to manifest. It's galvanizing a lot of people who see it as very wrong and a misuse or abuse of the law and the application of the law. It's also turning a lot of other people off. And if he were to get convicted, which it looks like he will, in this particular trial before the election, is that label of being a convicted felon going to turn off enough people that will hurt him? And I think that's the big unknown that the next 6-7 months is going to reveal.
Absolutely, that is the key question. Now, in terms of that trial, what is expected for today's opening statements?
The whole essence of this case is that it's basically a bookkeeping error that in terms of he paid off this person who happens to be an adult porn star, and that obviously was going to make its way. There's a salacious nature of that in the opening statements. He didn't record it correctly in the books. Normally, that would be a misdemeanor that has a 2-year statute of limitations. However, Alvin Bragg, the district attorney over there in New York, has elevated it into 34 felony counts, and he's going to be sort of weaving that narrative and what the legal theory is, a novel legal theory, in that opening statement. The other side, Trump team's defense, is going to make the point, that I just made, that it's really a stretch, and it's never been a legal theory that's ever been applied before, and they're going to try and dismantle that. But I think the broader point is, in New York, the judge doesn't really like him. The jury is most likely not going to be a jury of his peers, because 87% of people in New York City voted for Biden. And so I think even these opening statements and everything else, it's sort of just window dressing, and it's almost like we sort of know which way this is going to go because of the way the jury pool and the judge is inclined to be.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. Now, meanwhile, Donald Trump is expected to soon announce his vice presidential pick. This is going to be interesting. Kosha, who are the favourites?
This is the other thing with Trump. He is notorious for being unpredictable, and it's anybody's guess. I would think of it in a few categories. So there are some of these moderate Republicans that have sort of come home to him or come in his direction, people like Nancy Mace, Elise Stefanik, J.D. Vance, the senator from Ohio, who are all sort of critical or even moderate to him years ago, but over the course of the past 3 to 4 years have really actually come out as strong supporters of him. That's one category. If he feels that he wants to shore up the moderates who maybe don't like him and have never liked him that much. The other category is the conservative firebrands, like Vivek Ramaswamy, who made a name for himself in the primary, Carrie Lake from Arizona. Tucker Carlson's name has been floated out there. The former Fox News host has a huge audience. People like that. That category would be if he really wants somebody who's in his image and can really carry the mantle and his policy prescriptions. Then there's some other wild cards like Tulsi Gabbard, who is a defected Democrat congresswoman from Hawaii who left and became an independent. That could be interesting in terms of cannibalizing some of the Democrat vote. And yet with Trump, there could be another wild card that's not even on the list that I just mentioned that would surprise anybody. You never know.
Well, anything is possible, as we know, with Donald Trump, so we'll wait and see. Now, the US House has approved the long-awaited $95 billion foreign aid package for Ukraine, which has been warmly welcomed by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, of course, after months of stalling. Now, Kosha, this has been a very contentious one. Many Western leaders have praised the decision, but many others have been critical of the amount of funding and lack of border provisions.
Very, very contentious. I think, the bottom line or the foundation here is that the support by the American people for the level of funding that has gone into this war, and in fact other wars, has been steadily declining, and especially among the Republican base, and of course the Republicans hold the House right now, albeit with a very slim majority, that support has really been declining. So it is actually very unpopular with the base. The reasons, there's a practical reason for it. If you're $34 trillion in debt, the interest payments alone to finance our debt with current interest rates is $1 trillion a year, and just cross that mark. It's just there isn't enough money. That's sort of one layer to it. The other layer, as you mentioned, is the lack of border provisions and other problems at home. It just doesn't play very well politically that all this money is going to secure other countries' borders when our own border is wide open. You've heard that rhetoric come out there, and it sticks. It's pretty sticky. And then I think just the principle of it, of how much involvement should the U.S. have. Right. So that's why this has been a contentious issue, but it's passed finally.
It certainly is. Koshigata, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this evening.